Today I want to talk about rigging a HAB Bounder. I've received a couple of questions from people about the best way to do this. I have historically suggested that people use a San Diego jam knot. It's a type of cinch or jam knot that will create a loop that goes around the bounder itself, ensuring that the line to be cut is pushed up against the burn wires, regardless of the turbulence or bouncing during the flight. I've liked the Dacron fishing line. It's a strong fiber that doesn't stretch much. It's gotten to be a little bit harder to acquire these days due to the fishing community moving on to even stronger fibers. But Dacron, being a reasonably strong fiber but not one of these super new high strength fibers, is less susceptible to the bend radius. It has good UV resistance. It's just a good all-round fiber for this. And the line isn't terribly small, so it's a little bit easier to handle. I find it easiest to tie the San Diego jam knot around some other object and then move it over to the bounder. You can use a tree, a rock, something that is heavy enough that you can pull on it with a little bit of force. In this case, we're just going to use a small lathe chuck. So we take the line, we form a little loop with it, and I like to make sure that with this 50-pound fishing line that we get at least 6, if not 7 or 8 wraps around it. Let's see, that was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we need to come back up through the loop that will go around the bounder and then come back through this little loop that we made here. At this point you want to cinch it down just a little bit and make sure that all of these are lined up nicely. There's lots of online resources that'll show you how to tie this knot much better than I'm doing. But anyway, the point here is to make sure that it's starting to cinch up correctly, but don't cinch it up yet, because we still need to move the knot itself around the bounder. So now we've got an adjustable loop. We put it around the bounder. The retention line is going to go through these holes down to your parachute or to your payload. Depends on what line you're cutting, and then this line usually goes up to the balloon that you're releasing or the ballast bag that you're releasing, whatever it is that you're using the bounder to release. So at this point we have it going around the bounder. The knot isn't cinched up and it isn't tight. The bounder's circuit board flexes a little bit, probably about 2 millimeters or so. This ensures that the burn wires are always trying to push up against this line to be cut. So what I usually do is I push down on this just a little bit and then cinch it up. And the trick here is we need to cinch up both sides. We need to cinch the knot itself so that there's lots of friction on this line so it doesn't come loose during the ascent period of the flight as it goes through turbulence. And we also need to cinch up the loop so that the burn wires are fully pressed against it. So let's see. Pull that apart, so now the knot is getting nice and cinched, and then we tighten on that part, which will tighten the loop. This Dacron fishing line, it's a waxed line that I have. I have another variant that isn't waxed and it's a little bit slipperier. The wax seems to help increase the friction. I like it. It's easier to tie knots with it, but it's not always clear to me when ordering it which one of the two I'm going to get. So hopefully you can find waxed Dacron fishing line. If not, any of them will work. It doesn't have to be Dacron itself. I've had good luck with Atwood Ropes Nanocord. It's not particularly strong. It only works with super light payloads, but it has a texture. The braid texture in this is such that it seems to knots grip well in it. So now that we have the line around, we've really tightened up on the San Diego jam knot on this. We can go ahead and trim the extra knot material here just so it doesn't get stuck anywhere. Leave, I don't know, 5 centimeters or so of line there. And the balloon line, or the line to be released on the bounder, is now ready to go. In doing some research, the San Diego jam knot may or may not be the best. There's also a Uni Knot that works well with these braided type fishing lines. So let's see if I can tie one of those, and we'll try it to compare it. The break strength is, in theory, on the bench a little bit better. So let's see. So it starts out the same. We go around what will soon be the bounder. Let me move myself some extra here. We form a loop, and this time instead of wrapping from the top down, we wrap from the bounder back. So, as I say, I'm not as practiced at this knot. Some of the online stuff recommends, as little as 4 to 5 wraps. Once again, we're looking at this not in the same way that the fishing community is. We're looking at it to increase friction. So the more wraps that we can get in here while making a nice knot will help, because we need it to stay tight regardless of what happens during the ascent. So let's see, so I've gotten 3. Figure out a better way to hold this. Four. Getting there, halfway. 5. It's all falling apart. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. So the bounder goes there. In theory, now we want all these loops to clean up. There we go. And again, there are far better resources online than my demonstration of how to tie this knot. I just wanted to show how it would actually be applied to the use of the bounder. So now we have the loop with 10 loops, 10 wraps going through it, and now I'm just going to see if we can slowly tighten all this up without making a complete mess of it. Or not. This, as I say, is a waxed fishing line. It doesn't like to slip. There we go. Okay, so once again we have a jam knot or a slip knot or whatever you want to call it that allows us to expand or close this loop on the end. It would be the same thing then as the San Diego jam knot. It goes around the bounder, and then you can slowly start working this knot up tighter. This is by far a much harder knot to tie, but it does seem to resist slipping a little bit better. If you have a super light payload that isn't keeping continuous tension on this loop, this might be a better knot. I don't have any good flight data to actually back that up. I'm just observing what it feels like as I sit here tying it on the bench. So that keeps a nice tight loop around these burn wires. Once again, I would trim the end back a little bit here. So there you go. So let's look at 2 other rigging possibilities for the HAB Bounder on how to get this line around the burn wires. A group in Switzerland that's using a number of these has come up with a different solution. They're tying a separate cinch, a separate loop just around the burn wires using a cinch knot, and then a line going up to the balloon with a swivel on the end of it. They were kind enough to send over a number of pictures. I've tried myself to duplicate this many times, and we'll see if I can do it with the video recording. Let's see, so they have it, the line comes here, it goes around the bounder one way, it comes back the, oops, when I go around the bounder I have to come back through the swivel. It's a hard way to do it. They've had good success with it. I don't think at least with my success and my lack of knot tying ability, I'm not sure it's a method I would normally recommend, but I just wanted to put it out here as an option. So as it comes back up, we now have the swivel on. This comes back up over that end of the line, and I believe it goes up through here. And what I found, at least in my limited bench testing of this, is it has to be a separate line here. It can't be you can't use this same line to go to the balloon. You need a separate line to it. So now that we have the constrictor knot here, now we put into a reefing knot or a square knot, some granny knots, whatever you want to call it. So they keep that constrictor knot in there, and now we have bear with me here a second. Now we have two lines. Let's get that down and around and out there. And the line to the balloon, sorry, as I say, it's a new one to me. I'm still trying to figure it out. So now there's two loops around of a separate sacrificial line. And then a line to the balloon. They like a swivel. Their payloads are on the lighter end. I have had these swivels fail as your payload mass starts going up. They work great for light ones. Once you get above 5 kilograms or so, they start failing it if there's any turbulence during the flight. Two lines going over the burn wires. With this, if you're using a lighter line, it won't be an issue. As the line starts getting heavier, it starts adding more thermal mass there that the burn wires have to get through. And at some point, the burn wires just don't have enough energy to quickly melt the thermal mass of the line. So the sacrificial line does have to be a lighter line. In fact, probably this Atwood nanocord stuff would be ideal for it. So anyway, that is an option with a constrictor knot, and then a reef knot or square knot on top of it to help hold it. It works well that way. It does. I haven't been able to tie this double looped constrictor knot and then continue the same line back to the balloon. The way that this knot cinches down starts coming undone as that line starts pulling at different angles on it. The other method that I've used that's similar to this is a different sacrificial line method. It involves a small zip tie. We'll stay with this Atwood line to the balloon, and we need a ruler. So we take the sacrificial line, we tie just a simple loop at one end of it. We tighten that down. And then we need a second loop about 18 centimeters away. And tie a second loop with that. Something along those lines. So now we have a short sacrificial line like so. That then goes around the bounder. You have to make sure that you actually attach the balloon line and swivel over this. And then we use the zip tie on the battery side to actually tighten up those two. Let's see. That was close. Yeah. And once again, as you tighten this, I'd like to just push down on near the burn wires, not on the burn wires themselves a little bit as we tighten that. It'll flatten out this zip tie loop, which is fine. We trim the excess of the zip tie back, And now we have a loop that's tightened with a zip tie with a small little gap here that it's bridging that goes around. It's a single line going over the burn wires, so you don't have to be as concerned about thermal mass here. And we've got a swivel apparently on the wrong end of the bounder. It should go up to the other end. See if I can get this by the burn wires without breaking it. Yep, there we go. And then the retaining line would come off this and go down to your apex of the parachute or your payload or whatever it is that you're hoping to recover. And this line will go off, you know, it attaches to the balloon, it'll go off with that. The swivel here is necessary because you don't want whatever knot it is either cutting into this line or cinching down on it. This all has to go free, as this, when the burn wires cut the line, simulated by this cutter, that'll happen, and this just slides off nicely, and whatever it is you're releasing goes away, and the bounder will be held on, you know, line through this down to your parachute, and you'll recover it all. So those are two other options that I just wanted to share. Thanks.